Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Tonight's video, we are going to discuss Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. Have you ever gotten Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever? Because I have, and it sucked. If you're new to the channel, we're glad that you're here. Excuse me, I'm still dealing with seasonal allergies I do every year. On this channel, I like to talk about life, anything that's going on with me. I do a lot of hands-on videos and different videos about working on things and any issues that I've came across. If you're new, please hit the like or subscribe button, leave us a comment. We're glad that you're here. So I do want to discuss on tonight's video Rocky Mountain Fever. I have actually gotten Rocky Mountain Fever. It was about probably 5 years ago. It was the year before I started my YouTube channel. I was building a deck behind my house. I want to say it was around late springtime. I had gotten a tick on me. Apparently it was in my waistband area. I didn't notice it for a couple of days. One evening taking a shower, I had finally, I guess, touched the exact spot that it was. I noticed it was there. Had my wife pull it off. Thought no big deal. I've had hundreds of ticks on me over my life, but I literally grew up in the woods, hiking with my dad, hunting over the years. I've been exposed to ticks many times. This, however, allowed me to do a full-on research and understanding of tick bites, tick illnesses, what they do, how they affect you. I don't know every one of them that is out there because there's literally like a dozen or more of them now, maybe more than that. I pretty much stuck to researching Lyme disease and then other major illnesses like Rocky Mountain Fever. I was pretty certain that I probably had Lyme disease. So I got the tick on me as I was explaining, and I ended up going to work for a couple of days, and then I started to get sick feeling. More like flu-like symptoms were coming on. So I'd had those for a couple of days. This was probably 2 days after, probably 2 days after I had located the tick on me. And I started getting pretty run down, started kind of running a fever off and on. And the first night it really dawned on me that it may be tick related. My wife came in, she was sitting down, she said, "What's going on? What do you think you have?" And I said, "I'm not exactly sure." She said, "You don't think it's related to the tick, do you?" And I go, "It's a good possibility because I don't ever get anything normal." That's just kind of par for the course for me. I have also had Giardia before. I can share that in another video. So I'm not feeling good. This proceeds, well, let me back up. She tells me, "Hey, why don't you take off work tomorrow, go to the little clinic, see if there is something that they can give you, or to make sure that you don't have a flu or something like that." Because at that time, our daughter had been diagnosed with diabetes, and we had our second child, and she was pretty little. So making sure that I didn't bring anything home to the kids was a pretty important issue. So she said, "Go make sure you don't have strep or flu or something like that." So I go to the little clinic, and they do a few different tests on me. I kind of tell her, I even informed her, I said, "Hey, I had a tick on me, or might have been 2 ticks on me that I wasn't sure exactly where they, how long they had been there, and I had not noticed them in that area, but basically I'm not sure if what I've got going on is related to this tick being on me." She said, "Well, have you got any rashes or anything like that?" I said, "No, not that I'm aware of. I haven't gotten any bullseye rashes, anything that's commonly associated with being bitten by a tick." She said, "It's probably not related." She checked me for flu, she checked me for strep, several other things. Everything came back negative. This was, of course, pre-COVID, so that wasn't on the table. She prescribed me a steroid, which I thought, okay, well, I'm on the right track. I went home started to take the steroid, and I started getting worse feeling. This went on for about a day or two. I then decided that whatever she had given me was not making me any better, but was making me feel worse. And there was some truth to that. If you have a bacterial infection, which is what a tick bite is, it's going to make you feel worse if you take a steroid, because apparently from my research, steroids suppress your immune system. So that was actually happening. I quit taking it. I tried to ride out the rest of the work week. I was very sluggish. Didn't really have a whole lot of energy. I didn't know what was going on. I worked construction. So I believe we were working on a kind of a rough rental at that time. It was one that had gotten flooded and there was some mold presence and other stuff. I didn't know if that was the issue. I was really uncertain what was going on. So Saturday comes around. I had dealt with it for pretty much the entire work week, around 5 days, 6 days. Saturday rolls around and I'm not any better at all. And my wife had went out in town taking the kids and was running some errands. My mom called to check on me and said, hey, are you feeling any better? I said, no, I'm pretty much just laid on the couch. I was like, this is terrible. I don't really know how I'm going to go into another work week feeling like this. I have no energy. I think I'm running a temperature. It's strange. I'm not exactly sure what I've got going on. She said, well, you are running a temperature. And I said, yeah, I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty hot and it kind of keeps coming and going. I'll cover back up, the usual. She said, take your temperature. So I grabbed the in-ear thermometer, do the thing, take my temperature, and I'm pushing 104. So she said, that's not good. You need to get back up there to the doctor's office. She said, call the little clinic and see if they'll get you back in. So I called the little clinic. They said they couldn't see me for some reason. I believe it was related to seven days it had to be before you could get back in, that I would need to try to ride it out. They had already seen me. They'd written me a prescription, what yada yada. I have a lot of issues with how that was handled and also misdiagnosed in the first place. But it is what it is. I called my mom back. She said, well, are they going to get you in? And I'll go, no, they're telling me they can't see me. She said, you can't keep going with 104 temperature. Something's going on. You need to get to the doctor's office. So I said, all right, well, hopefully somebody will get me in, because I've already been and gotten a prescription this week. So there's an urgent care center right across the parking lot from where this little clinic is. I go there, I go in, I've got this fever going on. They had to have known that I had something going on, either that or they thought I was a crackhead, because my fever broke while I was there. I was covered in sweat from head to toe. I soaked my shirt. But when I had checked in, the lady had asked me, she said, you haven't had any ticks on you, have you? And I said, yeah, I was actually getting ready to tell you that. I'd been to the little clinic across the street, and they kind of had disregarded it. And she was like, we've seen quite a few people this year with, different tick illnesses, and it sounds like you could possibly be dealing with Rocky Mountain fever. So long story short, I go back, they do a bunch of blood draws, urine sample, all these different things. And I talk to the doctor. He comes back in. He could tell, like, I was just feeling terrible, that 104 fever had broken. And he goes, here's the thing. It's kind of we don't really have a definite answer at the moment. When we do a blood draw and send it in for a tick panel, that's what they call it, when they take your blood and send it in, it takes a while for them to process, and I guess however they do it at the hospital, to check to see if you have some kind of a bacterial infection in your blood. So he goes, it's going to take about 7 days to get that information back. What we prescribe for tick bite illnesses, I believe it's used for some other illnesses and different things, but they prescribed a antibiotic called doxycycline. A lot of people, like I said, been around it or exposed to it for various other things, but that's one of the main drugs that they use to treat Rocky Mountain fever. So he said, you'll probably know tomorrow whether or not this is working for you, because you're going to feel completely different. If you start feeling better, you have a pretty good indicator that whatever the heck you've got going on is related to that tick bite. So I go home, start taking my medicine. My fever peaked out again really high that night. My wife's putting cold packs on me and all kind of stuff, and I'm dying, burning up and freezing back and forth. But we finally got my fever to break the next day. It was like nothing ever happened. Just as that quickly, taking that antibiotic, getting that into my system, and dealing with the bacterial infection that I had going on, it started to take care of itself. So, well, the antibiotics started to take care of it. So that's pretty much my experience with it. I continued to take it, obviously, because I knew it was related. It was fixing it. And it was about 6 or 7 days after I had started taking the prescription that I got a call from the hospital, and during that whole time frame, of course, like I told you, I'm researching Lyme's disease, Rocky Mountain fever, all these different tick-related illnesses to think hopefully I didn't get Lyme disease or something else that can be prolonged. So most of my focus was around Lyme disease. So they called me back. They said, Mr. Dennison, we've got your results back, and we need you, or verify who you are, so on and so on. And they go ahead and tell me, she said, yes, you had Rocky Mountain fever. So I couldn't believe it. It was crazy to me that I had gotten it. I asked them if there was anything else that I needed to do special. They said, no, you've had your antibiotic, you're good to go. But if you ever have, I believe she said if I ever had blood drawn again, they would be able to tell that I had Rocky Mountain fever and that it was in my system. So that is my basic experience with Rocky Mountain fever. It is not a fun thing to get. It's a very dangerous thing to get, as I found out. A little bit of information regarding Rocky Mountain fever that I wanted to clarify, because that's the main reason for sharing this video, is one, just to share that experience, and two, to help anybody that may ever get Rocky Mountain fever. If you're not certain and the time of year doesn't make sense, and you've had a tick on you for a fact, and you start getting flu-like symptoms, it is definitely in your best interest to go to the hospital or a doctor and have your blood drawn and get an opinion on what's going on. It is not anything to mess around with. Rocky Mountain fever has a very high fatality rate for what it is, because it goes unnoticed and masked by so many other things like the flu and other symptoms. But your fever will become uncontrollable, and the bacterial infection will start to get worse, to the point that you could go into a seizure or something else because of the high fever, or a coma. So you don't want to play around with it. I'm glad that it worked out well for me and things didn't get worse. But what is it and where does it come from? Obviously it comes from a tick. Specifically, from all of my research, Rocky Mountain fever is most commonly associated with the American dog tick. Most tick-based illnesses, from my understanding, originate out of the East Coast more than they're involved out west. That's not to say that it doesn't exist out west, but I believe a lot of tick-based illnesses are associated with the East Coast, moving west, more on the East Coast, especially Lyme disease. But tick-based illnesses are nothing to mess around with. Like I said, if you think you've had, or definitely know you've had a tick on you, and you start exhibiting some kind of symptoms or signs, it is in, like I said, your best interest to go and get checked out. To kind of explain one more thing, and that'll pretty much wrap the video up for me tonight. I don't want to make this a long video because it's just a quick share. I wanted to explain having it and get that information out there if somebody would ever be dealing with this. But The other thing I wanted to share about it is how tick illnesses work. Ticks go through life cycle changes. There's a lot of kind of secondhand knowledge, or that's not the right word, misconceptions surrounding tick illnesses and ticks in general. From my research and understanding, there's really only 2 types of ticks in the United States, or there might be 3, I can't recall. The 2 that I'm most familiar with is the American dog tick and deer tick. Most people mis-ID deer ticks all the time. Deer ticks specifically go through 3 life cycle changes. I believe it's larvae, nymph, and then adult, or I can't remember the 3 stages, but basically what happens is they will feed on a host in the first life cycle, morph, go down, however it happens, they come back in the second life cycle stage. And now if they've fed on something in one of the previous life cycle stages before they get onto you, is when it becomes problematic. Because if they've picked up an illness or something else from whatever animal that they fed on previously, and then they mutate into their next life cycle stage, now they are transferring that illness onto you. And that's how tick bite illnesses work. Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain fever. There's a crazy bunch of different ones now. There's one that if you get bit by it, it makes you allergic to red meat. It's definitely worth not making yourself a hypochondriac about it, but being aware of it. I know the more that I've hunted as an adult, and they've became much more prevalent in our area, specifically a couple of the private or public land areas that we hunt have a lot of deer ticks. Deer ticks are most commonly carrying Lyme disease. There's a product called permethrin that I started using. It's a military grade product, and you spray it on your clothing, not on yourself. Do never spray permethrin on yourself. But you spray it on clothing, gear, whatever it is that you're going out into the woods with, and you let it dry 100%, and it actually, that treats the clothing for like numerous different washes. So if you're an avid outdoors person or something like that, I would definitely look into it if you've never heard of permethrin. There's one of the companies that sells some different outside repellents and sprays. I believe it's Sawyer. They are probably the main one that I've ever bought it from, but you can find it at your local Bass Pro, Cabela's, probably Walmart. Different stores carry permethrin, but it's definitely something good to have around. So anyway, that will pretty much wrap up tonight's video for me. Like I said, don't get Rocky Mountain fever. It sucks. But I wanted to share that experience. I've started to have some more ideas as things have moved on, and I'm trying to get in front of the camera and do some more talks where it's not just hands-on stuff, because I enjoy this part of it. I know it's obviously probably not what I get more views on, but that's okay. I enjoy doing these, and I enjoy sharing information. So if you got something out of this, drop us a comment. If you've ever gotten Rocky Mountain fever, drop us a comment. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not. We appreciate you being here as always. Thanks, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care and have a good day. Always mess up that ending. I can't ever get it right.